नमस्कार आपण समस्त को यही वीडियो बहुत बहुत स्वागत। तो आज यही वीडियो रे आपण सहित द चेंजिंग नेचर ऑफ द इंडियन स्टेट इंडिया स्टेट रो राइट डाउन द डेवलपमेंट डायमेंशन ऑफ चेंजिंग नेचर ऑफ इंडिया रो नोट्सटा शेयर करी आ वीडियो आगु कहबी जे आपण माने पीडीएफटा किपरे पाई परिबे। द प्रोग्राम adopted in 1991 had to separate but interlinked aspects that of stabilization followed by structural adjustment. Chandrasekhar and Ghosh have argued that the integral stabilization components of the reform was aimed at deflating the Indian economy. The main aim of this policy was to reduce balance of payment and deflect. तो आम कौन प्रोग्राम जो प्रोग्राम रही डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्रामटा यहाँ 1991 कौन प्रोग्राम टू गोटे एडप्ट करागला कौन ना टू सेपरेट बट टू इंटरलिंक आसेप्ट दैट ऑफ स्टेबलाइजेशन फॉलोड बाय स्ट्रक्चरल एडजस्टमेंट या कौन स्टेबलाइजेशन करागला। चंद्रशेखर एंड घोष ये जो दुई जन थे 2002 रे हैव आर्ग्यूड दैट द इंटीग्रल स्टेबलाइजेशन कंपोनेंट ऑफ द रिफॉर्म वाज एम्ड to deflating the Indian economy. The main aim of this policy was to reduce balance of payment deflect within the ambit of structural adjustment. It was argued that a renewed access to foreign exchange was not be used to sustain higher expenditure by the state. Given below is a brief account of the application of structural adjustment and liberalization at the level of different sectors. This analysis is based on the work of C.P. Chandrasekhar and Jayanti Ghosh. तो कौन सब देखा फास्ट देखिए इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी कौन ना आफ्टर द इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ रिफॉर्म द इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी मूव्ड इन थ्री इंपोर्टेंट डायरेक्शंस। तीनोटी कौन इंपोर्टेंट डायरेक्शन से कौन मूव है। The first was the elimination of capacity control by the de-reserving and de-slicing Indian industries which were subject to license earlier. The second change pertained to the weakening of provisions of the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Policies Practice Act. The third change was related to introduction of policies graded for promoting greater involvement of foreign investment in India. Next है trade liberalization. Trade liberalization कौन as a part of the neoliberal reforms, policies were introduced to heighten competition in the domestic market. Domestic market से कौन reforms सब होची introduction to heighten competition. What competition? कौन ना one such policy pertained to the liberalization of the import trade. An effort was made to dilute important controls by the rapidly reducing the number of traffic items subject to quantitative restrictions and licensing in other forms of discriminatory control and on impact. Reforms in agriculture कौन it is important to point out that the economic reforms of 1991 in India did not have any specific policy package for agriculture. माने agriculture का specific policy नथिला. Simultaneously broader trade liberalization would shift intersectoral terms of trade in favor of agriculture. Next है financial liberalization. Financial liberalization कौन the reforms brought about in the financial sector were the most significant part of the overall reforms. This was done through structural changes in the banking sector. Lastly, banks were provided with greater freedom in the determining their assets portfolios. Banks were also permitted to cross the fire that separate the banking sector from the stock market in India. Next point कौन which exchange rate policy. In order to change the terms of exchange rate determination, the Indian government moved from administrated exchange rate to a situation by the end of the decade of 1990, wherein there was a unified market determined exchange rate of the rupee. This was fully This was fully con- convertible for current account transactions. The inflow of portfolio capital was permitted. Certain companies were allowed to raise capital abroad and external commercial borrowing was also allowed to selected companies. तो ये कौन ना जो डेवलपमेंट डायमेंशन्स आम सब देखिले जे सब नेचर इंडिया नेचर सब के माने चेंजिंग होती डेवलपमेंट डायमेंशन ऑफ चेंजिंग नेचर ऑफ इंडिया जदि आप नोट चाहते डिस्क्रिप्शन में टेलीग्राम लिंक अच्छी से जॉइन हाँ आप कौन नोट्स मिल जाए। थैंक यू टू ऑल ऑफ वाचिंग दिस वीडियो।